Guidance is internal. Ignition sequence starts. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Permission to board. Permission to come aboard. Permission to board. Permission to bring me aboard. Permission to come aboard.
Welcome to the Permission Granted podcast. Here's DA.
All right, welcome inside the freshest edition of the Permission Granted podcast, everybody. Thanks for being with us. And you can always check out our Permission Granted podcast, which is the podcast of all of our off-the-air hijinks, by simply subscribing to iTunes or SoundCloud. Just go to CBS Sports Radio. Actually, better way, search the DA Show CBS Sports, and you'll see it there. I always tweet them out and put them on Facebook as well. They're in the middle of our normal nightly show podcast feed, and then we also put these on YouTube as well, youtube.com/The DA Show. So many ways to find all of the off-air hijinks, and I'm excited about today's guest. Otoja Abit is going to join us, and he played basketball at St. John's. He was a walk-on at St. John's, is now an actor, and has been in a couple of stuff with big names like Kiefer Sutherland and Al Pacino. So Division I basketball athlete turned actor and already working with like Pacino is a pretty cool story. So I'm excited to have him on. And he also played at Archbishop Malloy here in New York City, which is kind of one of the powerhouses in high school hoops here in NYC. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And then a little bit later on, I'm hearing rumors that that Schwartz, the great Peter Schwartz, had a meltdown in the studios. So I need to get to the bottom of this with Mraz. So that's coming up a little bit later on as well. As always, we appreciate all the support during the week on the show. And now we've got your Permission Granted podcast. And here is welcoming on Otoja Abit. Obviously, you're an actor now, but the basketball part of your growing up was a huge part, and you actually played at St. John's for the Red Storm throughout your collegiate career. So being in college and playing basketball, did you always have an eye on acting? Because I know in your bio it said if I wasn't playing sports, I would be acting.
Yeah, definitely. I think the whole time playing basketball, growing up in New York City, born and raised, basketball was, the only outlet that people had in the parks playing with your friends. But I always watched television, always had a desire to actually be on it. I guess it was my way. My mother would watch television a lot, and I would say, Mom, watch me instead. But, I really enjoyed acting, and there was never a real outlet for acting other than trying to find it in the inner city. And after I played basketball at Archbishop Malloy High School, coached by the legendary Jack Curran, I had a chance to go to the Gunnery Prep School in Connecticut, and that's where I found my true love for acting, be it that in Connecticut the arts are more prevalent there.
Now, your dad went to St. John's, so did you have any choice? I mean, at that point, if your dad goes to St. John's and you want to hoop in New York City, you probably didn't have much of a choice.
Oh, no, I mean, yeah. I mean, my father's really happy to decide to go to St. John's. I just grew up knowing and loving St. John's. He went to St. John's and also NYU, and NYU was a good school to go to as well, but, in sports, it was a Division III school, and St. John's basketball, growing up in New York City, it's the best school ever to go to, and it's the best program, and that's the only thing I knew was my dream school to go to, and luckily, I fulfilled my dream.
It's funny because you end up playing at a school that now has hired Chris Mullin, and your dad was there when Chris Mullin was there. So I'm guessing that your dad was talking a lot about Chris Mullin, a lot about Mark Jackson, a lot about Walter Berry, and all the guys and all the jerseys that you saw hanging on the rafters at Carnesecca when you were playing.
Yes. My dad growing up, he'd always tell me at St. John's we'll be in the lunchroom and Chris Mullin will be there and Mark Jackson will be there. And I believed him. I always felt my dad and Chris Mullin were really very good friends. But then when I realized years later when I played on the basketball team, I was that guy where people could say, Otoja was in the lunchroom with me, or J. Cole was in the lunchroom with me, or Keegan Bradley was in the lunchroom with me. It's a thing where I'm happy that Chris Mullin is coming back to the school and it's coming back to the program, because I never got to really experience his greatness other than video and film. But now the fact that he's back and get to meet him and speak to him, I know his love and passion for St. John's University and the men's basketball program.
Now, you were a walk-on there, and so you played, but played sparingly at times, and then you were injured your sophomore year. You finally end up scoring your first points against UMBC junior year. What was the basket? Take me through the play in the basket where you got the 2.
All right. Yeah, well, definitely as a walk-on, you always have the pressure, and you always want to play. And this is what separated me from a lot of walk-ons. And Norm Roberts, who was my coach at the time, he'll tell you this too, is that I always felt I was always ready to play. I mean, we practiced. I was always ready to go. And it was one game where he finally put me in the game, and I said, I was ready to go. I was excited. We had friends there. We had family there, and I got in there, and I think it was an offensive rebound, and I went back up for the ball. Got hit a couple times. They didn't call the foul, of course, and I just put it back in and got the point.
You see that they didn't call the foul, of course, because you were a walk-on. You were going to get the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. They're saying just be happy that you're getting a shot. And I'm like, no, and he fouled me, ref. I wanted to turn and complain, but I realized it's not my place right now, so I'll save it for another time.
You also got to play in the Big East tournament in 2007, and that was back when the Big East tournament was the old school Big East tournament, and you had all those old teams like UConn and Syracuse and West Virginia. So to play, man, I used to go to the Big East tournament all the time and still do, but boy, those were different days when you take the floor at Madison Square Garden and it's that moment. I mean, that's kind of the pinnacle, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely, Damon. We were in a process again, coming in with Norm Roberts in 2004. It was a rebuilding years since all the bad scandal happened with Mike Jarvis and the prior teams. But it was the Big East still, and it was after the expansion where we had 16 teams at one time. So our first year, I think we had postseason sanctions, so we couldn't play in the postseason. But then the next year, we had to basically only 12 teams to make out of 16. And that was an amazing thing that we're fighting to be in the Big East tournament as if you're fighting to be in the NCAA tournament. So in 2007, when we got to finally play, we played Marquette in the first game. I remember that. And it was just an amazing thing that it's the Big East tournament. It's here. It was our NCAA tournament because we never had a chance to get that far as a team in a couple of years. So it was an amazing experience to be in New York City. The lights are on, the buzz is happening, everything is increasing and heightened, and it was an amazing experience for myself and my teammates.
Yeah, and that old garden, now they've renovated it, and it's still cool. Yes. But the old garden, It's beautiful. But the old garden, it had that smell of peanuts and urine, and maybe like some and like elephants from the circus. I don't know. It was a little bit more gritty, wasn't it?
Yeah. I remember I used to go to the garden a lot more for because again, I didn't go that much for basketball to watch basketball. I went a lot for concerts, and a lot to see WWF at the time. I remember my first time at the garden was '96 Survivor Series, Shawn Michaels versus Psycho Sid Vicious, and
wow,
a big Shawn Michaels fan, and this is the time when the Attitude Era started happening, and Psycho Sid beats up Shawn Michaels, and he wins the belt, hits Jose Lothario with the camera. Everybody's booing Shawn Michaels. He's flipping the crowd off, and I'm thinking, Shawn Michaels, you're my favorite. Why are you doing this? You're my childhood hero. But that was the time I realized the Garden fans, they like the bad guys. The Garden fans will turn on you if you don't produce or provide for them, and I got to realize the real energy of the Garden. It's an amazing place, a almost famous arena, but the fans of New York they're so fickle, but they stand by who they really believe and who is fighting. And I remember the smell of the Garden just being an honest place. It's a place of honesty. Whenever you smell, it's raw. Like New York City as well. Yeah, that's a great way to describe it. I didn't know you were a big wrestling fan. When did that start? Growing up? I started growing up. I was in fifth grade. I love sports, but then in fifth grade I had a friend named Erica Alvarez, and she was a girl that got me into wrestling. She basically like, you got to watch wrestling. I was like, oh, okay, I'll try it. And I started watching it, and I became a big fan of just Shawn Michaels, big fan of Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Undertaker. And then she gave me all the WrestleMania. That's when they had the box sets. People now are fortunate. They have the apps and they have DVDs, but we had the box sets. I had to order like 13 of WrestleMania 1 to 13 and just watch all the WrestleMania to get my history. I'm that kind of guy. That's what's good. As a walking off, I'm the kind of guy where I learn one thing and I want to learn all the past history, and it helps me a lot with acting as well, with research, I guess.
Man, it's a rare thing when a guy gets into wrestling because of a girl.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
But now they get out of it because the girls, when you get older, they're thinking, what are you doing? Stop watching that.
Right. Are you still tapped in? Do you watch it at all anymore?
Yeah. I have friends that still watch it, and they know a lot more than I do, and I check in with them about what's going on. I like it a lot. I try to watch the pay-per-view events, but definitely I tune into Raw at times. And right now it's 3 hours long. It's a little bit long, for myself, but I like to fast forward and go to a lot of the promos, because even as an actor or a sports person, the promos are one of the better things you can watch, because it's these two characters staying in character, having wants and objectives, and it's to me, it's a watch as an actor to see people change characters all the time, and I mean, it's not the best acting lesson, but you'd be surprised the acting talent some of these wrestlers on there.
Oh,
and
no.
even as entertainers too. Sports entertainers, their bodies and their choreography of how they move. I mean, it's an amazing feat to watch these athletes do what they do in wrestling.
There's no doubt. We had Shawn Michaels on the show a couple months ago.
Gosh.
Yeah,
I'm giddy.
yeah. And he was real cool. But remember, like, he had really different personas, because he was a good guy, then he was a bad guy, and he really had to kind of take on all of that, and then wanted to shed that image, and now is kind of like born again Christian and whatnot. So it's really interesting. Just as you mentioned, I mean, being an actor yourself, those guys, it's the best wrestlers, the most popular wrestlers are the ones that are really the best actors. You got to be a great athlete, but you really have to play a certain role to the hilt, right?
Yeah, and commit and to commit to what you're doing as well. Shawn Michaels, he started off as the Marty Jannetty, the tag team partners, and he basically, that when he put Marty Jannetty's face through the barbershop, the whole segment where he kicked Marty Jannetty and basically turned to Marty Jannetty, became a solo star in the Intercontinental, his Intercontinental Championship reign. Then from there, he got a manager, and then from there, he became a champion. He was fighting as a little bulldog, fighting against these big guys, carrying WWF at the time when WWF became a little bit bigger. And then from there, he joined DX. I mean, he has a lot of different fractions, and it makes a good thing to see that Shawn Michaels is somebody to carry himself, and also Shawn Michaels is somebody that believes what he does a lot. And I have friends who literally, one of my boys we grew up together since we were 8. And he compares his life to Shawn Michaels' career in a sense of, right now I'm going through the Marty Jannetty phase. Right now I'm going through the Perry phase. Right now it's Shawn Michaels' high around the 96. So it's very interesting when I have wrestling friends that compare life to wrestling in some bizarre way, I guess.
That's pretty cool. Now, I got to imagine, you said your favorite book, at least in your St. John's bio, was Anna Karenina by Tolstoy. So not many college athletes are sitting around reading Tolstoy. Did you ever feel like a fish out of water?
I felt that way, because a lot of people, they look at me like, no way, I don't believe it's not your favorite book. I'm like, yes, it is, because I love the idea of revenge and passion, and in the Tolstoy book, that's what it was about for me. It's about these different characters that really believe in love and lust, and that's what I feel. I'm a very passionate guy about things, about life, and I experienced that in that book, and I just loved it, and I wanted people to know that, and they didn't believe me, but I said, no, it's a great book. You should definitely check it out.
That's pretty cool. So,
man.
We were just talking about before, one of those highlights in college, scoring points at Carnesec for St. John's. When you're playing opposite Pacino in The Humbling, I mean, that's got to be one of the acting highlights of your life, right? Yes.
For me, it was definitely the most nervous I've ever been in my life, and even to this day, when I finished shooting that episode. That film, and I came back, and I was talking. I'm saying I have no idea what just happened, because literally we were in the scene. My mind was somewhere else. I'm in it with Al Pacino, and you're so nervous because you don't want to mess up. And Al Pacino's one person, and you have Barry Levinson directing it, who's an Oscar-winning director who does it all, and you're just trying to do your best. So with that, it was the lights are on basically. You talk about going playing in the Garden, the lights are on, the 70,000 screaming your name. This time was Al Pacino in a silent room with cameras happening, and he and I are just talking, and he and I just talking as us acting, and not many people could say they got to play with Al Pacino, and it was an amazing experience to have.
Were you able to observe Pacino's process and what he goes through behind the scenes?
No, not much really, because it was a smaller film, and they were doing other scenes, and I was waiting in my holding area. And then when they said, "Hey, okay, it's OJ, it's 5 minutes, so we're about to finish shoot," and they brought me to set. The whole time I'm so nervous. I'm thinking, "Oh my gosh, this is really happening. How did I get here? Did I fool somebody? How did I get here? I'm really acting now with Al Pacino. I'm going to start with Al Pacino." And he and I, at first, he said hello, and happy to meet you, and that's that. And then from there, we did our scene. But it's weird for me, because when, as an athlete, it's almost as being that. I was telling my friend this yesterday. When you're an athlete, you go and compete against somebody, you hold your own, and then when it's all said and done, then you shake hands or then you talk to them after. The same thing happens in acting in some sense, because you don't want to ruin somebody else's process about what's happening before a scene. So be it the murder scene, so be it the scene about love, so be it the scene about fighting. You don't want to ruin somebody's process, so you just want to do your own thing, and hopefully it goes well. When it's all said and done, then you shake hands and talk after that. So that's how Pacino and that's how we really work together in that scene. And it was an important scene because in the scene he was talking about his life as an actor, and it's amazing scene, amazing film. But he's talking about his life as an actor, and the scene is supposed to be about a minute and a half, because there's a page and a half of dialogue, and in that page and a half, I'm asking him questions in between. And Pacino, the cameras are rolling. He goes in this 8-minute rant, not even rant, but 8-minute. He was exploring his life as an actor, his life as a person, life as a human being, and I'm listening, thinking, when do I say what I say? Because he's off book right now. He's doing his own thing, but in a beautiful way. And literally, it was almost like being a jazz player, where I don't want to cut him off and say, hey, Al Pacino, let me do my line, because that's not the right way to do it. I just had a chance to really just find my way like a jazz musician, and then when he brings down his voice a little bit, I come in with my question, or when he has a little break of a pause, come in with my question again, and have a normal conversation and act instead of forcing an acting moment. And that's when I learned more than anything about Pacino, the ability to listen, and also just feel the room. So I learned a lot just working with him. He didn't have to do much for me, but I just learned so much. It was an amazing experience.
That's interesting. All that description reminds me of Birdman, and
yes.
The jazz score playing in the background, and Michael Keaton and his life, and it's kind of a semi-autobiography, and just his process and his life, and looking at his life through film. Did you get to see Birdman? And
yeah, I did. I saw it 2 times. Yeah, I saw it 2 times. I saw one time my buddy Chris Noth. We worked together in that championship season. We were in the theater. We went together to watch it, and the whole time we're watching, he's laughing out loud, and then when we walk out the theater, he's just like, man, that is an amazing film. Because we see so many films in this industry, but we see something like that that's so different and so honest, and to actors, you really get it. It's an amazing experience that you just think, I want to do that. I want to do that somehow. Kind of let me find my way to do that. And lucky enough for myself, I worked with something very similar, which people compare them a bit with The Humbling, because it's the idea of an actor who's gauging and trying to reclaim their glory and trying to really bust through this business. And it was an amazing experience and honor to work with Al Pacino and Barry Levinson and one of the top films in 2014, 2015.
So you mentioned that championship season, and
Yes.
and that had some big names in it as well.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
you're talking about
Yeah.
Kiefer Sutherland in that,
Yes.
so that's a huge
Yeah.
deal, and that had kind of a sports tie-in, right?
Yeah. That's literally the director, Gregory Mosher, a Tony-winning director. And see, Damon, what I'm doing in my life, I'm associating myself with people win a lot of awards. Hopefully,
Not a bad bit. Yeah, that's a good angle, man. Keep doing that.
Yeah. So Gregory Mosher, he's a fantastic director. We did a reading in a theater company, Labyrinth Theater Company, that was run by Philip Seymour Hoffman. I used to intern there when I got out of school, and we did a reading together. And he was going to direct the play that championship season, one of my favorite plays by Jason Miller, to play about basketball players. And I reached out to him. I said, hey, Gregory, I'll do anything to be a part of this. Please let me just help out, do anything to basketball play. I'm a basketball player. And I really had the idea that I'll do anything to be a part of this play. And he brought me in. I mean, I couldn't be in the play. There's a play about 5 guys who live in Pennsylvania. And he brought me in to help him out. And as a basketball player, for the guys to learn what it is to be a basketball player. Like I had to tell Kiefer Sutherland a certain way to pass a ball, or tell Chris Noth this is how you dribble a ball, or there's Chris Noth, Jason Patrick, Jim Gaffigan, Brian Cox, and it's amazing group of actors, amazing director, and amazing writer Jason Miller. So just being in that room around a lot of great people, I learned a lot just watching them. And I realized even Kiefer Sutherland, that was my first one, I realized he gets nervous just how I get nervous. So, he's, of course, Kiefer Sutherland's a fantastic actor and with amazing credits, but he's still, before a show, he's nervous. So, you have to understand every single person has their own process, and they're all the same. And it's good to work alongside a lot of people like that for me to really experience and learn from watching them.
And so
But yeah.
you could run like a Norm Roberts camp, a basketball camp for all the actors, right?
Yeah, maybe, yeah, maybe, maybe more better staff than myself, but yeah. But again, it's a basketball play, so me being a basketball player into a basketball play to help me out a lot, and that's why I love about the game of basketball, is especially right now in New York City. I always tell people, in New York City, if there's any basketball role in New York City, as an actor, any commercial, I should be hired because I'm the best basketball player actor in the city. I tell people that. They think I'm very cocky, but I'm like, no, I am. I'm a Division I athlete, the best program in New York City, top 10 winningest program, and I'm working my way as an actor. I should be, and anything about basketball, I should be involved with it.
Yeah, I
took that kind of confidence with that championship season, and it really helped out a lot. I mean, fantastic group of men that I learned a lot. And to this day, I'm their little brother, and I can ask for anything better at all. They really care about my progress, what's happening, because I was there for them and there for me. They were my team. After leaving St. John's, it became a thing where I never. It's hard as an actor. You're out there and you're alone a lot. But finding a team and with those group of guys, it felt like another team, another family that I was longing since my St. John's playing days.
You're the only son of Nigerian parents, and I wonder. When you come here and you try to make a life and you try to become successful, there's a lot you learn from your parents or your grandparents. There's a lot you derive. I got to imagine that's a huge kind of motor or fuel or engine for you. What is that like?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. It's a huge motor. It's a huge drive that the idea that I must make it. I have to make it. And in sports, I was telling my friend this yesterday. In sports, you could practice for 5 hours all night, and then practice a certain move, a certain layup, a certain hit of the bat. And in acting, you have to practice all you can and then just hope to get called. It's such a different type of art. And my parents, they're starting to understand it. At first, they were just saying, do you want to do this? Are you sure you want to do this? And I said, yes, Mom. I went to college. I played Division I basketball. I did all my dreams that I possibly wanted, but now I really want to pursue the arts. And I had a really good advice from one of my really good friends, Andrew Honishberger. He told me when I got out of school, because I was in 2008 when the whole economy was going down, and he told me, you have 40 years of your life to work. You're going to work 40 years of your life. Do what you want to do right now? And when he said that, I just said, let me start acting and trying to make it, because I'd rather do it now than wait till I'm 37 and things will be a lot harder then. So I told that to my parents. And my dad has a passion. He came from Nigeria to America, started school, started a family, so he understands my drive as well. My mother understands it, but she wants me to go at a smarter way. But now how things are starting to get better, had the best years of my life as an actor this past year, they're starting to realize, this could be something. This could be something that's good, and they're pretty excited when they see their son on television, or one of their friends will say, "Hey, Ann, I saw your son on TV. He looks so skinny. What's wrong with him? Is he not eating?" Things like that. But they're happy, and their support is immense, and that's more than anything the major support that my family gives to me, because it's, again, like I said, without your teammates, it's really hard to be out there pursuing this craft. So it's really good to have support from family and friends.
It's such a story of America. My grandparents came over from the former Soviet Union, and my grandmother and my grandfather were both Slovakian, and they came over here back at the turn of the century, and Ellis Island and all that, and they grinded, and that was a huge fuel for my mom, and then certainly for me, because I got to see that firsthand as well. It's such a story of America, but it is also such an inspiration, and also it's like a touchstone. Like, if you have that and you can kind of touch into that or whatnot, you kind of feel like there's always a propulsion. There's always like, okay, this is what came before me. This is how I can kind of try to derive some of that as well. And you kind of feel lucky to have seen that and experienced that, right?
Yeah, I know. I've seen it happen, and I've seen that you put your mind to, you can pursue anything. And I grew up a dreamer. I'm a young kid from the city who always wanted to break out and make it happen. In the best city in the world, I always believed that I could do whatever I put my mind to. So I really, even becoming a player at St. John's University, that was my dream as an 8-year-old boy. And I went to St. John's. I played basketball there. My final days of St. John's, Norm Roberts put me into his office. We always have a end of the year player meeting, and he said, "Otoja, no one could take away from you that you're a St. John's basketball player. And that was probably one of the most proud moments I ever had in my life, because that's true. No matter what, walk-on, scholarship player, Final Four participant, that's a big deal. But being a St. John's men's basketball player, no one could take that away from me, and I really made it. And from there, I accomplished one goal and then had the idea to try another goal. And his support helped me out a lot.
Yeah, no doubt. That's really cool.
Yeah.
You got a great project as well that's going to be coming out called Stonewall. And this is you got a huge role in this as well. So when is that? When do you think that's going to hit, and what is that all about?
I think it's going to probably come out in the fall. Probably, can't quote me on that, but
all right.
As I'm on the radio. But it'll probably sometime in the fall. I'll keep it at that. We're distributing. We got national distribution by Roadside Attractions. It's an amazing company, and it's a film directed by Roland Emmerich, who did White House Down, Independence Day, 2012, Stargate, Day After Tomorrow, a big Hollywood mastermind director. And he's doing a small film about a period drama about the gay liberation rights. It's about Stonewall, about a Stonewall bar in the Village in 1969, and it's basically the start of the gay rights. And it's an amazing opportunity, amazing cast. We have Jonathan Rhys Meyers, we have Ron Perlman, Joey King, we have Jeremy Irvine, and newcomers Johnny Beauchamp and Vlad Alexis. We have Caleb Landry Jones. It's a really, really important project that Roland Emmerich, who wanted to tell a story about gay rights. It's a statistic that out of homeless youth, 60% are gay. 60% of homeless youth, 60% are gay. No, how do we get to the next stuff? Out of the homeless youth, 60%, out of gay youth, 60% are homeless. That's what it is. I'm sorry.
Is that right? Wow.
Yeah, I think that's about right. But anyways, so I'm playing a character named Marsha P. Johnson, the trans activist, a real New York City person as well. And for me, it was an amazing opportunity to play somebody who's real, amazing opportunity to play somebody who means a lot to New York City, means a lot to gay rights. And for me, it's a way to stretch myself as an actor. It's an amazing experience that I got a chance to play in. I think it's something that's going to make a lot of noise coming with a political year and becoming with something that Roland Emmerich is straying away from what he usually does and doing something a lot better this time. So I'm excited for it. I'm very excited for it. Very nervous for it too. I'm excited for it because I'm going to be a man in drag, and it's my teammates are going to love that. Just love that one definitely.
You think you're going to hear some of your former teammates?
Yeah, of course. I mean, they're going to say, "Oh my gosh, what's going on with you?" I'm going to say, "Listen, guys, this is not me playing an amazing character in the back of my room. This is me playing an amazing character for the world to see and telling an amazing story." So I'm really excited for this. And Marsha means so much to me because she was somebody who was a big activist and veteran of the Stonewall riots. She's an East Coast person, born in New Jersey, and a lot of people know her. And I was amazed, and I was telling people, I was amazed that she's, as a big black activist, growing up, I never knew anything about her. Is it because she was gay? Is it because she was small in New York City? I was amazed and stunned by doing my research that this amazing activist I had no idea lived. And I think, and I'm most proud of this film, is that it's bringing people like her, people like Sylvia Rivera, people to the forefront for the world to see, not just New York City, not just the LGBTQ community. It's more for the world to know about Stonewall riots. It's an amazing period drama that we shot in. I think it may do well. I'm hoping it does well.
That's really cool. Keep an eye out for that coming up in a couple of months potentially. That's called Stonewall. You also have seen him in The Slap and the championship season, as we mentioned before. Man, you've been a busy dude.
I've been busy. I always complain I'm not busy enough, but I guess that's me being an athlete. But I've been very fortunate and blessed that things have been progressing and going the right way. So I'm just keep my fingers crossed and keep on trying to keep it going. Things like this, they even help me out a lot. Just gets the word out there, and I really appreciate you taking the time with me.
No doubt, man. Great story, great interview. Loved having you on. Played at St. John's University, played at Archbishop Malloy, one of the powerhouses in New York City. He's out there, he's acting, he's doing big things. Otoja Abit. Next time we catch up, we'll do it in studio, okay, my man?
All right, Damon. Thanks so much, buddy.
Thanks to Otoja Abit for joining us here on the show, on the Permission Granted podcast. Really, really cool. Guy born in Brooklyn, grew up in Queens, and went on to play basketball at St. John's, and then do a lot of cool acting work, like this piece that's coming out, Stonewall, this film that's coming out later on in the year. The Slap, which is a TV show that has been promoted a lot, and then also, as you mentioned before, the championship season that has a little basketball tie. So Mraz joins me now, and this has been, Mraz, a bad couple of weeks for Schwartz, so our good friend from the overnights. Schwartz was our update anchor for 2 years, and he stayed with the overnight show. And so I don't get to see him anymore. Do you get to see him?
Rarely, but usually I leave with you right after. It's usually James Ward or Steve Moralia who will see him because they're out, putting the show on SoundCloud, where you could find our Permission Granted podcast as well.
You're gonzo as soon as 10 o'clock rolls around.
Listen, like an office work, I put in my 8 hours, I check out, punch out, and away we go.
It's like the Road Runner. As soon as it hits 10, you're out the door with a cloud of smoke behind you. You, Klug, my God, I've never seen Klug. I've never seen anybody run out of a studio like Klug does. When I fill in for Gottlieb, Klug is out before I think the final update hits. I mean, I'm like, I put down my headphones. He's gone already.
That's funny because I leave very quickly, and probably I maybe leave the fifth fastest out of certain people that work at CBS Sports Radio.
Yeah, well, I mean, you leave pretty fast.
Hey, got to do it. Here early, out early, and away we go.
Well, you're here on time.
Oh, yeah, but I'm here early in the day.
Earlier. You're filling your shift.
Yeah, I'm working a hard 8 hours here.
And then not 8:15.
Don't get paid for overtime here. Out we go.
Not 8:05. So sometimes if I stick around about a half hour after the show, Schwartz will come in to start doing his updates. But I haven't seen him in a long time.
Right.
He's obviously a huge Islanders fan, and he hates the Rangers with a passion. Now, the Islanders, starting off the season so well, have cratered.
Really?
I mean, it's a disaster.
Backing in. There's an outside chance that, heading into Thursday night, they could miss the playoffs if they lost out.
They were battling for the top spot in the division not long ago with the Rangers. The Rangers have surged.
They were 12 points up on the Rangers in January.
Yeah, and so 2.5 months later, the Rangers have clinched the President's Trophy for best record overall in the entire NHL.
Right.
And the Islanders are holding on for dear life.
Right, which shows you what kind of 2 months it's been, for any Islander fan.
It's been the worst 2 months possible. And
right.
So Schwartz is dealing with this. He's dealing with a newsroom full of Rangers fans. And
it's not good.
He's not getting a lot of sleep. He's still on the overnight shift, which we know he was getting like a 2-hour power nap here, maybe 2.5 hours there. He was cobbling together over the course of a day, maybe 5 hours a day.
Right, and that would be his way. The normal person, a well-rested person, will get that full swoop of, at least 6 hours, 5 on a bad day but continuous sleep. Hey, he's piecing together 2-hour chunks at a time and thinking, if it adds up, I'll be okay. Not exactly.
It's not how the body works.
No, it's not a recipe for success.
So he's dealing with no sleep.
No sleep,
Jerry. He's dealing with the Islanders cratering. And apparently he had he melted down in the newsroom?
Yes, I have sources I cannot reveal on the podcast.
Anonymous sources. You're like Schefter.
Right, anonymous sources. I got a text that he came in, and this coincided with the Islanders' loss earlier in the week to the Flyers, in which they gave up a goal with 2 seconds left to not even get a point that would have clinched them a playoff spot, their first one in a few years.
They just needed 1 point.
1 point.
And with 2 seconds to play, they gave up the game-winning goal.
Yeah, Yaroslav Halak basically let in what amounted to be a clearing attempt.
And he's crap.
Absolutely. So I'm sure this enraged him, but apparently he came in, and like we know Schwartz to do, has about, a gallon worth of Diet Pepsi, and it's separated into cans.
He brings in about 6 cans a night.
Right. He usually places them nicely. Apparently, they basically got thrown in, which I'm sure wasn't good for shake-up purposes, into the refrigerator. He's kicking chairs, his chair. He's slamming on desks.
Oh, boy. And this is just because of the loss.
We believe it's just because of the loss. Apparently, the kids were acting up, too, but I think that had to do with the loss because he's got a whole little army of Islander fans he's got up there.
Well, the kids love the Islanders just like he does.
And apparently, Schwartz had really lost it. So, I feel bad for Pete. We probably could have had some fun with him that night if he had been in, but it wasn't good. And this happened to be the same night I told our intern, Alyssa, who was famous for getting me the sauces during the Chicken Challenge, to let Pete know that the Flyers winning goal was in there. And I don't think that sat well with him either.
Can't imagine that goes well. So he's being taunted by you guys, huge Rangers fans.
Right.
He's watching the Islanders crater. The Rangers are surging. and he's not getting a lot of sleep. I feel for the guy. Of course he's going to melt down in the middle of the night. He's coming in at 10:30, sticking around until 6 a.m. He's not getting sleep. His favorite team is crap in the bed. What do you expect him to do?
Well, I'll say this. I would feel bad for Pete other than the fact that I just found out recently he's also a fraud. Big-time fraud.
How so?
On our show, a famous overnight moment on our show, Schwartz swore up and down as the coach of his son's Little League team. We've had a million of those Little League stories with Schwartz. That if his son had to play for the Red Sox, he would refuse to put the hat on and be the coach of the team.
Right. If his son played for the Long Island, whatever, Levittown, Long Island Red Sox, right?
He would not put the hat on. He would not
wear the hat. He would support his son. He would try to coach the team, but he would not fly the flag. He would not wear, because he's a Yankee fan.
Because he's a Yankee fan.
Not wear the Red Sox anything.
He said, how could you do that? You'd be a fraud if you do that. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Of course, because we had a whole show debate on it.
So now on a personal level, my personal Facebook page, I am friends with Pete, obviously. Pete puts up a big picture the other day, Little League season around the corner. Bradley, his son, who is a Mets fan, growing up a Mets fan. He's raising him a Mets fan because his wife's a Mets fan.
Right. Cheryl's a Mets fan. Schwartz is a Yankee
fan. And Cheryl got to pick their baseball team, so they're Met fans. Good. They go to a lot of Met games.
Is that how they did that?
Yeah.
So
Pete
chose the football?
Well, yeah, and I think Cheryl's a Giants fan, so Pete got the Jets, and then she got to pick the baseball, so he was raising his kids Met fans.
Interesting.
That's the way they went about it.
Oh, that's smart.
It's smart, and I give him a lot of credit for it.
Because you can't have a split household.
No, so I think it's very fair. Mommy and Daddy each get a sport with their kids. I think that's great. However, Pete is putting up pictures of his son with the new hat, new team this year. His son is on the Phillies. Okay? And that might be all fine and dandy, have no control. But he's celebrating his son playing for his beloved Mets, favorite rival, the Phillies, while last year, Pete's talking a big game about what big a fraud you have to be to put on your rival's hat, even in Little League. So it's okay for Pete not to put on the Red Sox hat, but when it comes time for his son to put on the Philly hat, he can't demand his son play for another team?
Well, I mean, that's a lot of politics. You think he's going to force Bradley?
There's 3 teams in a league. I'm sure they can make an even trade. And apparently Bradley's a coveted prospect. He was betting cleanup last year and catching for the Levittown, Blue Devils or whatever they were playing for.
So this is the same league where there's only 3 teams?
Yeah, now, I mean...
A full league, it still only has 3 teams.
Yeah, because something happened with the town. They have like 3 different leagues, and then there's only 3 teams. I don't understand it. But I can't imagine they had at least 13 more kids sign up where they could fit a 4th team or something like that.
Well, this is also a terrible job by the league because in a league...
Why offer them, right? Is that the point you're going to make?
My point is if there's only 3 teams, make them the Padres, the Blue Jays, and the Mariners.
100%. I've always thought that.
Why is there the Phillies or the Red Sox or anything?
Phillies, Red Sox, Braves, if you live in New York, should all be out. And I'm sure, throughout the country, whatever, your rival should be out of the mix in the league so it's dilemmas
Can't play your own team, can't play a rival team, find neutral teams.
100% agree. However... Pete's got to make a stand here. You can't be blubbering to 180 affiliates that you're a fraud if you put on the Red Sox hat. Oh, I'm a Yankee fan. Well, your son's a Met fan, Pete. What that's a fraudulent, thing you're doing, allowing him to be a Philly.
So you expect Bradley to force his way out of the Phillies organization to play on a...
If Bradley's as good as he says he is, he should have some pull there. Make a trade before the year. I'm not saying you got to trade. I know the kid... They haven't practiced yet. He told me the parade isn't yet. You can make a move. Guys, either get me new uniforms, I got to find a new team for my son. I'm taking a stand. Be a man and take a stand.
So this is Pete, not Bradley, you think should do this?
Yeah, if Pete's going to take a stand for himself, if his son was on the Red Sox, take a stand and show your son that you will not... root for your rival. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely fraudulent and ridiculous. And it'd be one thing if Pete just was like, it's Little League. But Pete didn't feel that way when he would have had to put a Red Sox hat on. Nice. So I think it's very transparent here.
I think this is difficult to ask him because there's not a lot of energy. There's not a lot of sleep. His Islanders are crap in the bed.
You think he's just giving up and goes, I don't sleep anyway. Play for whatever the heck team you're on.
Look, you got to pick your battles at this point.
Well, you know what, though? He was so, basically pounding on the desk about this point last year. And a year later, he's allowing his son to be a Philly when he's a Met fan, and I just think that's absurd. It proves he's a fraud.
Do you at least have some compassion for what he's going through right now?
Of course. I love Pete. And I talk to Pete basically weekly since we no longer work together on the same show. And I love Pete. And I wrote this on his Facebook. I told him flat out he was a fraud, so I'm not being phony here behind his back. He's like, well, a kid has no say. Baloney. You have say. I have compassion for Pete and everything he's going through, but take a stand there. Take a stand.
Is Pete coaching this year?
That I haven't confirmed. I can imagine he is.
Schwartz seems to be involved in every facet of Bradley's life.
He's coaching soccer on the other son's team. I mean, gee whiz, Pete. I mean, take a break. Be the snack mom one day.
Well, this is what's amazing is that Schwartz works the overnights. He gets very little sleep, and he's still, every step of the way, he's coaching this, he's coaching that, he's going
very involved. I'll give him 100% credit for that. More involved, has more energy when it comes to the kids than I would now when I sleep 8 hours a day.
Yeah, if I'm sleeping as little as Schwartzo and I'm dealing with the cratering of the Islanders, I'm taking the season off from 6-year-old soccer.
He's not doing it, though. I give him credit. But at least the soccer, they give him the neutral teams. But he really came across as a fraud to me. And Pete, if you're listening, you are a fraud.
All right, coming up here next, Mraz breaks things down with James Ward when it comes to Hell on Earth and Soundcheck. That is next here on the Permission Granted podcast. Subscribe to us by going to iTunes or SoundCloud, search The DA Show, CBS Sports, or follow us on Twitter or see our Facebook page, and you'll see it there, facebook.com/The DA Show.
All right, welcome into Side B of the Permission Granted podcast. Man, the weeks are flying by on these things. It's pretty remarkable and unbelievable how many of these podcasts we've done now as we're getting into the mid-30s. Joining us for the second straight week here on Side B is associate producer James, million names Ward. James, how are you?
I'm doing good. I like to see that the freeze out didn't start again.
No.
After I was brought back into the fold last week, I got another shot to be on the podcast. So 2 weeks in a row, pretty happy about that.
Yeah, well, it's good to have you. You know, when you bring something to the table, it's very good. However, I must say I'm a little upset with you. I am a little upset. As my wingman on the other side of the glass on the DA show, I think you're failing me a bit, and you left me out to dry on Wednesday's show with my sparse debacle. Now, I've often been a person who fumbles words around and makes mistakes, and I wish I really wasn't like that, but that's just my nature. You have to be looking out for me on the dump button. When I said that, why didn't you dump out?
I'm like the 12-year-old's father. You wanted me to take the bullet for you.
Right, exactly.
Listen, this guy doesn't know how to speak English.
It's not
He's
right.
making mistakes on words that you should know when you're in first grade. Does it go back to you learning it wrong in first grade? Is that where the sparse, or do you just have an affinity with spare ribs?
I'm still confused now. I don't even know how I said it and what it's sparse.
It's sparse.
I'm still getting it wrong. Freak, it's sparse.
It's sparse.
Sparse. So the seeds were sparse that day. I don't know why. It's like the old guy who can't say oil and goes Earl or turlet.
Yeah, you're saying it wrong.
I keep saying sparse,
Yeah,
but it's sparse.
not. It's definitely not sparse.
There's rare. Like rare is almost the same thing as sparse.
Yeah.
And I think I took spar and error and I made sparse. So nobody's ever said sparse before. Is that a common mistake?
I've never heard anyone do it before.
Man, I really
But
feel like
you're
an idiot.
unique. Let's face it. You're a unique individual. It doesn't surprise me that you're the first person that I've heard say that word incorrectly.
The point being, I know myself, and I have often screwed up words before, although I will stick my heels in and say I didn't screw up the word salmon, that if you go in parts of the country, it's salmon and not salmon. That was a big one. But if I make a mistake like that going forward, James, you got to hit the dump button. It's time for me to start looking out and looking smarter than I actually am. And if you could do that and dump out as if a caller were to curse, I think that would be best for all parties.
If I
you?
dump out of every dumb thing you say, we will run out of delay very quickly.
Well, that's not fair. How much dumb
There's
stuff
not
do I
enough
say?
delay for me to dump out of every dumb thing you say.
I don't say that much dumb stuff. That's ridiculous. I messed up with the sparse or the spare. Sparse.
Sparse is the correct.
I
yes.
messed up with the sparse. There is no such thing as sparse.
But then what? The horse drives the cart. What was that other expression?
You drive the horse. Let the horse drive you, or you drive the horse, right?
Yeah, you get a lot of those expressions wrong too.
Well, back in the day, they used to drive the horses. The horse would, you'd hit the thing in the hiney of the horse, and it would gallop away, and you'd be on wheels with the horse carrying you. That's how they got the word horsepower for cars. How many horses could power you at that speed?
Yes, I did know that.
So you'd be driving a horse. See, I'm dropping a little knowledge.
I was aware of that.
Yeah, that's totally correct. Now, you're not, as we should say, released of all screwing up on the DA show. You had a little rough one, too, as we peel back the curtain. Soundcheck has really haunted you here, huh?
Yeah, Soundcheck. The last night was bad on my part.
Really bad.
The sound bite that I wanted to play, only half of it was there when I went to play it.
Right.
So then And of course, the part that makes sense, everything that it was a cut from Billy Packer on with Pharrell.
Right.
It was talking about the evolution of college basketball. The part that transferred into the computer was not the part that actually summed up the quote. It was a part about, Jahlil Okafor, so it made no sense.
Right. So, I mean, to peel back the curtain here,
and then I got the Grayson Allen cut where it sounds like he's at a frat party.
It's exactly what he was doing. There's beer pong and flip cup going on behind him. Essentially, when we started the new time slot in January, we had to change up some of our famous segments that we had in the overnight. One of the segments we had was Nightlights, where we played back the best highlights of the night, if you will. Now we're on during games, before games, and now sometimes the baseball games are on before us, but Nightlights is no more because there wouldn't be enough material. So we instituted Sound Check when we started, and that's supposed to be sound clips of the day, which I think has been a smash success. I love the segment. As a listener, I think it's a good segment.
Yeah, and a lot of the times you get some good audio from guys that were on CBS Sports Radio or guys that have said things throughout the day, and it's a good thing to jump off for discussion.
Right. However, you run into situations like we had on Wednesday where, quite frankly, folks, I got to be honest with you, a slow day in sports. We're a day removed from opening day and national championship where that stuff's kind of settled down. We haven't quite gotten into the playoffs. There's not a lot of people saying a lot of things, or at least there weren't on Wednesday. So, pat us on the back there. It takes a little bit trying to find sound, and usually it's James or Steve-O that finds the sound. James dug hard, whiffed a bunch, and the sound bites weren't great ones. And we had a little discussion off the show, and DA kind of pepped you up a little bit and said, we can't have Sound Check sounded the way it did on Wednesday night, which, if you listen, didn't sound great. Then I get a text from you today. Sound Check is a nightmare for me, or something to that effect.
Because I woke up this morning and the first thing I started thinking about was, hey, anyone say anything last night? Immediately I think of Papelbon crushing Philly fans. I mean, what else is new?
Right. Well, those are easy to crush.
Is there any more athlete in recent time who's more overrated than Jonathan Papelbon? He always says something stupid, I should close out the All-Star game. I'm a better closer than Mariano Rivera.
When he said that, I almost lost my mind. Papelbon was always overrated, but you're right.
So back to the original point. I woke up this morning and the first thing I thought about was SoundCloud. It wasn't
Sound Check.
Sound Check.
See, the show is so ingrained in your mind. You're thinking about SoundCloud, where you could find this Permission Granted podcast, as well as every full show podcast after every single show that we have on CBS Sports Radio. But yeah, you're thinking about Sound Check, SoundCloud. The show is in your head now.
I wake up, I'm thinking about Sound Check. It's not bacon and eggs. It's not making coffee. It's what happened last night. Any good guests on CBS Sports Radio this afternoon where I can use for Sound Check?
That's pretty sad. It's sad that it's come to that for you.
I live a pathetic life, I think.
Well, you do. You were pathetic in the the chicken challenge. So that all kind of ties together. Now, we got a big sports weekend on tap. A lot of baseball. The NHL season closes out the basketball. As we are sports guys. Let's talk a little sports. Will you, James Ward, watch more than 12 minutes of the Masters?
Absolutely.
Now, you'll be here on the weekend with the TV on, so maybe that has something to do with it. If you were home alone, would you watch more than 12 minutes of the Masters?
Yes. And again, my life is totally upside down now with working on the weekends, and it's been that way for a while.
Right.
But I remember Masters weekend going over to my dad's house. My dad's a huge golf fan, plays golf, loves watching golf. He'll watch any of these, miscellaneous tournaments like the Phoenix Waste Open, or, any golf tournament on a weekend he's watching. But I'd go over and we watched the final round of the Masters together on Sunday.
Your dad was a golf guy.
Loves golf. So I got into it a little bit. It's not my favorite thing, but I can watch the Masters. I can watch some of the other major tournaments. I can watch a little bit of the Ryder Cup. Not a golf guy, but I do enjoy the Masters.
Will you watch more golf or more NASCAR this year?
100% golf. I won't watch a second of NASCAR.
Interesting. I'd probably watch more NASCAR, and I'm not really a fan of either. To me, I have the utmost. Is it utter or utmost? A cow has an udder, but I feel like it's still uttermost.
Yeah, can you just say uttermost? We'll just leave it at that.
Uttermost respect.
It's utmost, but let's you could just go with utter.
But is utmost short because of utter? Like it's supposed to be uttermost, and people just go ut?
I think that's just like an old English expression that we just carried on.
Okay. Well, anyway.
I'm not sure what the genesis of ut is, but I don't think it's utter.
Well, okay. Well, anyway, I have the uttermost respect for golf, utmost respect for golfers in general, because it's a hard sport to play.
It's impossible.
If you want to call it a sport. But yeah, I'm terrible. I'm garbage. But I do enjoy going out there, having a couple drinks, and playing with my buddies every now and again. However, on television, I know we have a ton of golf fans listening to this right now. I just can't get into it. And maybe it's an acquired taste. It's like, I didn't like broccoli my whole life, but somewhere about 5 years ago, I discovered, you know what, I kind of like broccoli, and now I eat it a lot. Maybe at some point in my life, I'll get into the golf on TV. But boy, I find the Masters and golf in general on television just grotesquely boring. And I really feel like when Tiger's time is come and gone, it's going to fade kind of to horse racing and boxing, to the effect of you have your big moment every now and then, but nobody really cares.
The thing with the Masters, the golf club in Augusta limits the TV coverage of it. They're only allowed a certain amount of commercials. They're only allowed a certain amount of broadcast.
That's why it started late on Thursday,
TV
right?
coverage is later, and they most of the day it's all live. So if you tune it in, you're not going to watch a lot of commercials, which is one of the things I like about it.
But the whole thing feels like a commercial. I feel like it's so boring. It's just so slow. I mean, if you have a problem with the baseball pace like some people do, the golf pace is it's brutal to me.
You have to like it. It's fun.
Now, fair enough. My dad wasn't a golf fan, so maybe that has something to do with it. If I was like you were watching with my dad, I'd probably feel different. So I got to be fair about that. Now, as much as I credit a golfer and how difficult it is, do you truly consider it a sport?
I think it's a sport, and only because I've tried and failed at it so many times.
So because of the difficulty, you consider it a sport?
It's very difficult. I hear these guys talking about it's a hobby.
I think it's an activity. I think it's an activity.
No, absolutely not. You play 18 holes of golf, you're exhausted at the end of it. Your muscles are sore.
You're yawning on the third hole. You're exhausted.
No, you're not.
Playing
If you were playing golf, if you play 18 holes, you are exhausted, sweaty, disgusting. You're worn out.
There's no
anyone that says golf is not a sport has never played it. They don't know what they're talking about.
I've played it. I don't think it's a sport. It's not physical.
Have you played 18 holes of golf?
Yes, I have.
And you walked or you took a cart?
Walked. But little I was, a little huffing and puffing, but my first thought wasn't to grab a Gatorade. It was, all right, what do they have on tap? That was kind of my first thought after.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people make that argument that golf's not a sport.
When you play sports, there needs to be some kind of defensive force against you, if you consider
the golf course.
So you consider the golf course the same as a major league pitcher, the same as hand checking in basketball.
Yeah, these golf courses are borderline impossible.
Come on. You
see some of these scores in the final rounds of the U.S. Open?
These
golfers are complaining about it. It's impossible. They literally can't beat the golf course.
We have the open and closing clown's mouth at some of these mini golf courses. Does that count as a defense and make it a sport?
No, because that's like some hokey carnival game.
Well, so you could make the case that golf itself is a hokey carnival game.
No, it's not.
Come on. James, there's no defense there. You want to argue you're slicing a ball in a certain wind?
Mental fortitude.
Mental fortitude? What are we playing, Risk? Monopoly? There's board games of mental fortitude. Is poker a sport also?
No, because poker, you're sitting there with your friends, you're smoking cigars, drinking, you're
sounds like
cards.
You're describing golf.
Not if you're playing golf seriously.
Well, if you're playing poker seriously, you're in the zone too.
Is bowling a sport?
I think bowling's an activity too.
I think bowling's definitely an activity.
See, I'll give you, and this is one, I'm not even a big fan of this sport, but I'll tell you it's more of a sport than golf or bowling is tennis.
Tennis is definitely a sport.
Tennis is extremely athletic, but some will argue
some
that's
of these
an
tennis
activity.
guys, if you look at Rafael Nadal, how fit he is and his ability to play tennis is.
He's a sexy man.
Oh, 100%.
He's a hunka chunka. Hubba bub. I think he's a good looking man.
We should invite him to do the chicken challenge next year.
Those guys, I bet you, could destroy us.
Yeah.
Those athletes. Look at did you see the story about The Rock? How much he's eating?
Yeah, over 800 pounds of cod a year.
And I think he's eating, 8 pounds a day of food or something extreme where it's unbelievable. And you eat a lot. That's unbelievable. And who eats that much cod anyway?
Cod is very good for you.
I think I've had cod 3 times in my entire life, and I like fish.
You don't strike me as a fish guy.
I do like fish. I do. Big flounder guy. You stuff with a little crab meat. I like the shellfish, of course.
Shrimp.
Shrimp.
Can't go wrong with shrimp.
Give me a pound of shrimp a day. I'm all about. The cod is ridiculous. That story with The Rock.
It's
disgusting.
Cod is very good for you. Lean muscle mass.
I imagine he's eating good cod too, not like that Wendy's cod sandwich that comes out.
No, he's not eating. He's not buying the frozen pack of cod fillets.
Ugh. God, that's got to be disgusting. But yeah, anyway, those tennis players eat a lot. Athletes in general can eat
Tennis
a lot.
is more of a sport than golf, but they are both sports.
NASCAR a sport, car racing.
Absolutely not.
Boy, I don't know where I sit on that one. I think it's more of a sport than golf. But if I'm going to be transparent here, I still got to say not a sport either.
Yeah, but is it a sport when you're driving home? No, that's just an activity. What makes that different than NASCAR?
Are you driving home at 150 and bumping each other?
No, but you could theoretically drive your car over 100 miles an hour.
I guess track running wouldn't be a sport either because that's
so. If you say, for instance, you're driving your car home,
right?
You're on the LIE, the Long Island Expressway,
right?
You're speeding, you're going 80. That's not a sport. You get up to 95, 100. Does it become a sport when you go over a certain amount?
I'll go with
miles
you on
per
this.
hour.
I'll go with you. No, not a sport. It's considered a sport. I'll put golf in that list. I will put bowling, and I will put car racing as not sports. And I'm not a soccer fan. Soccer's a sport.
Yeah, some of these soccer players run 10 miles a game.
Tennis is a sport, absolutely, but I can't buy that. So, everybody gets into the Masters this weekend. Just know you're watching an activity, not a sport. For me.
It's 100% a sport. And I'll be here, but I'll watch almost all of Sunday's coverage.
I don't think I put on a second of it this weekend. And I'm a national sports producer. Probably should check in on Sunday. No, I won't. And you know what? I have a built-in excuse. I got flag football into a christening. Yeah, I'm not touching that thing on Sunday. Tiger could be winning it on Sunday. I won't even watch it.
If Tiger's winning, I'll watch it on Saturday.
Get big ratings. It will get the big rating on over the weekend.
And
with
that's the thing with Tiger. He's such a polarizing figure because guys either love him or hate him.
Right, and
you watch
everybody
it either
knows
way.
him. Yeah, and everybody knows him, so you get into it.
And who are these other guys? No one knows who these other guys are.
Yeah, even guys you would think you would heard of.
Rory McIlroy's interesting now, I guess.
Like we're in the newsroom and CeeLo Crystal Presti's out there looking at Padraig Harrington. I'm like, who? What, are we kidding me?
Yeah, I've followed golf from a distance for a while, so I know a lot of these guys, but they don't have the same appeal as Tiger Woods.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to be into it. But good for you if you are. I will say no sport. James says a sport. And with that, now that we've probably ticked off and annoyed all those golf fans.
If you've gotten this far.
Yes. We're going to wrap up the Permission Granted podcast. Thank you so much for listening. As always, you can subscribe to us on iTunes, SoundCloud. Check us out on YouTube.com/The DA Show, Facebook.com/The DA Show. Follow me on Twitter at MrazCBS, James Ward CBS. Boy, that's a difficult one to memorize. As always, we try to push James for the follower count here.
Let's get me a somewhat acceptable number of Twitter followers.
He wants to have a good 2015 on the Twitter front. We'll hook him up. Enjoy the Masters if that's your thing. Enjoy the baseball season. We'll catch up next. We'll have the NHL playoffs ready to roll. I know I'll be psyched about that. Maybe we'll do more on that next week. Take care, everybody. Enjoy the weekend.